This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at SaferNet.com.
Welcome to the Digital Desperados podcast featuring dark tales from the web. Patrick McMurphy's back here today to tell us our dark tales, and he's joined by Brad Hawkins, founder and CEO of SaferNet VPN. You know, I'm Jim Brangenberg, and I'll serve as your story guy, but I really want to focus on SaferNet for a second. You know, World War III started on your computer when Al Gore unleashed the internet in 1994. And you need to fortify your business against cyber attacks because it's a real thing. SaferNet's the answer. Our easy-to-use cybersecurity app protects your enterprise on all fronts. Secure your organization online with SaferNet. This journey will include VPN, internet filters, web filters, and so much more. How about antivirus? Embrace simple yet robust cybersecurity with SaferNet. Get secured now at SaferNet.com. That's SaferNet.com. Patrick, Brad, so grateful to have you guys here today. Patrick, what is the dark tale you're telling us about today?
Well, today, Jim, I want to talk about Ehud Tenenbaum, aka the Analyzer, aka, and this is my own nickname, please update your software. You'll see how important updating your software is in this story. So Tenenbaum, he's born in Hod HaSharon in Israel on August 29th, 1979. Details about his early life, they're pretty scarce. We do know he was, of course...
Patrick, our listeners are calling in and are doubting your pronunciations this morning.
I would say so.
They're seriously questioning your pronunciations. It's in the comments already, and we haven't even finished producing the show. So
I'm going to call him Udi.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so sorry, Mr. Tenenbaum, Udi. So Udi, yeah, he was a good hacker growing up. We know that. We don't know a lot, but we know he was into hacking. But more importantly, he was very gifted at researching code for vulnerabilities. In other words, he was good at analyzing, and this is how he got that nickname. So in the late 1990s, the US government were extensively using this operating system called Solaris, and it's developed by a company called Sun Microsystems. They're still around today. They're massive. And this is used across defense and research institutes. Now, Solaris, I won't really get into exactly what it's doing on a technical level, but it's known for scalability. It's very robust, advanced security features. It's really good it's basically a great choice for very critical applications. So who's going to be using Solaris? So we're looking at NASA, the Pentagon, the US Air Force, the US Navy, MIT. So all the big dogs are using this thing. But like all software, and trust me, all software, it has its flaws, it has vulnerabilities. And again, it's owned by Sun Microsystems, and they patch these. So if they know there's some exploit, they will then send this patch that you need to update your system. They urgently tell all their users, you need to download these patches and just install them. However, and now this is the 90s, and this is still happening in 2025, no one does this. No one wants to update their software, and you'll see why it's a terrible idea. And so because all these government institutes are not updating Solaris, it starts an event that became to be known as Solar Sunrise. So Udi and his friends, so he has some colleagues, I say colleagues, but friends, hacking friends, they're researching systems all the time, and they know about the flaws. They know about the flaws in Solaris, and they know exactly who in the US is using these unpatched systems. So Udi has an idea. He says, okay, why don't we try breach NASA, the Pentagon, the US Force, the US Navy, and MIT again, right?
So, why not?
As you do, just a normal Saturday evening with your friends. So he has this group of friends he has, there's 2 Americans and 2 teenagers, and they systemically infiltrate multiple systems. And so he's using what are now known kind of there's publicly available knowledge about the exploits, and there's people out there creating these scripts that breach the systems. And so what he does, once he gets into the systems, he does something called escalating his privilege to a root level. And what I mean by that is that the computer basically recognizes him as the boss, as the owner, so he can have complete control over the system. He's then deploying these things called packet sniffing tools. And what they do, they monitor all the network traffic, all the data coming in and out. And so things like this allows them to collect usernames, passwords, a lot of critical information. I mean, you can imagine these systems, the information going across these systems between the military. Like it's pretty intense stuff. He also installs a Trojan horse software that creates a backdoor. And what I mean with that is that if he gets kicked off the system, he's a very easy way of just reaccessing it straight away. Now, he didn't actually steal or delete any classified information, but it caused a lot of disruption. So there's over 500 systems he breached in total. And so initially, investigators thought, okay, this must be Iraq. It must be a state-sponsored actor, because these breaches are so sophisticated. And at the time, it's the early 1990s. There's a lot of geopolitical tension with it. So they're like, okay, it's got to be one of these guys,
So what I want to know is he didn't steal or delete anything. How do they even know he was there? I mean, he didn't mess with stuff. All he did was take passwords. I mean, do they? Well, I mean, maybe you get into it later, but how do they? Why are they upset? I don't understand.
Well, so the U.S. Department of Defense Secretary at the time, he had said the attack was the most organized and systemic attack to date on U.S. military systems. Wow. So it was big news, and so the U.S. government.
Let me back you up a touch. So you're talking about updating your computer. So yeah. Did he get in through somebody's office that they just didn't happen to update their computer, or was it the servers, or what? Do you have any idea where the hole was?
Well, it's not. I don't know exactly where it was, but in an updated system like that, it might say. We'll say it's an operating system, okay, and it has, we'll say a specific port for communication, and someone might find out, okay, the port is actually not protected at all. And so we're going to send out this patch that you need to update it so no one can get in through this port. And so him and his friend said, well, that port's open. We can just walk through. So they're using systems just to scan which ports were open and get in that way. And that's why when we'll see like, Google Chrome security update, you need to install that, because what they're actually saying with that is that there's actually a big exploit right here. And if you don't patch it right now, you're bare open for it.
Well, it's interesting. So can SaferNet, Brad, help in a situation? I mean, Linux and Unix operating systems, can you guys work alongside those?
We don't work into a Linux system, although there's some comments that we might be able to, but we're not in a place where we say that we can do that. But there are things that we can do within that. We can't make it airtight. But if somebody gets in through an open port because they didn't do what they were supposed to do by updating their security, and they try to do something to navigate outside of the network, if SaferNet was on it, we would be able to keep outside things from happening. But in general, that's a Linux system is not something that we operate within. But Linux is massive computer systems. So we're targeted towards that small business that is really trying to figure out how to avoid all of these massive things that happen on the outside. So
yeah, I encourage everybody listening, you can check out SaferNet. It's so simple to get on your computers. We've got it on every one of our computers at our organization, SaferNet.com, SaferNet.com. All right. So, Patrick, the U.S. Deputy Defense Secretary, he starts getting involved. They finally get this guy, Ehud, gets their attention.
Yeah. So the U.S. create this operation, this investigation, which is codenamed Solar Sunrise, which is what it's known by now. And so they assemble agents from everywhere. You got the FBI, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, NASA, DOJ, Defense Information Systems Agency, NSA, and CIA. I mean, it's everyone and their mother are in on this case. Like everyone needs to know.
And their moms are involved too. Wow.
The mother of the FBI agents, believe it or not. But so when they're doing investigation, they actually do find the two American teenagers. They're both from California. And now this isn't known what happened here, but I'm imagining the two teenagers probably snitched a little on Ehud, because the US investigators basically pass information to the Israeli police, and the Israeli police arrest Ehud. FBI's agents go out to Israel to question Ehud on, what exactly was going on here. So 2001, Ehud pleads guilty. He states, however, that he was not attempting to get a hold of secrets or sell secrets. He just wanted to prove that the systems were flawed. So Ehud gets sentenced to a year.
I gotta say that is one of the most fascinating things to me, and we've noticed this with multiple hackers, that they're not trying to do anything other than to prove to themselves, prove to their hacking buddies, prove to their moms, but that they have the ability to break into what somebody says is extremely safe. Now, so there's a lot of times that I'm talking to business owners or just people in general saying, nobody'd ever want to hack me. I don't have anything important. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that somebody has the ability to. That's what I find so fascinating.
Yeah. It can be showmanship sometimes with these people, especially when they're younger.
But I love it. I mean, be able to brag and say, listen, I'm smart enough to figure out that the Defense Department, the Air Force, the Navy, MIT, they're all stupid enough to not update their computer systems so I can get in. I mean, I get that. I mean, that's just like, why wouldn't you tell people? I mean, they're just trying to help.
Well, you also think, well, maybe they'll send me an accommodation to help them. That we showed them that they were not operating at the best practices.
Exactly. But yeah, Ehud, so he's in Israel. He gets sentenced to a year and a half in prison. Now, he actually only serves 8 months, and that's because of something called the Derry law. Now, if there's any experts in Israeli law here, I'm probably going to mess this up. But my understanding of the Derry law at the time was that Israel had a massive problem with prison overcrowding, and so they released a number of inmates who were, non-violent or weren't, considered very big reoffenders or anything. At the time, the FBI actually made an 18-minute video called, a training video for themselves called Solar Sunrise, Dawn of a New Threat. And that was a part of their hacker defense course because it's 2001 and they're like, okay, we can get hacked pretty easily. We need to train everyone on this. So Ehud gets out. He actually founds a company called 2XS. They're information security consulting. He's the chief technical officer, the CTO. So he's using all this hacking experience. He's assisting organization in identifying the holes that he had seen before. And this is, again, why he's the analyzer, because he can look at a company, look at their system, use things like penetration testing, security assessment. And so he basically develops more robust security protocols for them. And now this isn't uncommon for hackers after prison who decide, okay, I don't want to go back to prison and I want to, maybe make some money legitimately. They often go in this kind of white hack, just see how hackable other businesses are, but they pay me for doing it. Now
a little better thing to do, yes.
Exactly. A couple of years later, it's September 2008. There's the Canadian police and U.S. Secret Service. They're actually doing a joint investigation into this, what they believe is a global credit card fraud scheme. And who's at the top? Ehud. Ehud is at the top of this. So Ehud and 3 accomplices of his get arrested in Montreal. So this is his second major legal encounter. So they have kind of found out that there's this group operating this international cybercrime operation focused on hacking financial institutes.
Wow. So he didn't learn a lot of lessons because he could be going back to prison. It's interesting. My Windows computer updates security. It seems like every day, but at least every few days. But is it enough? You got to stay ahead of cyber threats. SaferNet can help you with that. For businesses seeking top-notch security without complexity, SaferNet's got you covered. 84 internet filters, web filters, antivirus, VPN, all of this included. SaferNet.com. And if your Windows says update me, you should update me. That's just part of the deal. All right, so Canada.
Jim, I gotta add something very interesting.
Please do.
SaferNet updates real time because we run everything through the cloud, and our virus protection is within the cloud. And so as soon as we know a threat and we are aware of something different, our people don't have to worry about updating because it's right there in the cloud and it's updated as soon as we get our hands on an update. So it kind of assists pretty dramatically in this particular issue.
All right, so Patrick, back to Udi. Gets connected by some Canadians, eh?
Yeah, and not about hockey, but so Udi personally gets charged with 6 counts of credit card fraud. It was an estimated sum of $1.5 million. And so, but they basically they link his team to breaches of these financial institutes worldwide. They're looking at databases with sensitive credit card information. And kind of how they did this, how they would hack a financial institute. Again, this is just boiling down to unpatched things because he's using a lot of something called an SQL injection. And I won't dive into it, but what it is, it works with input fields. And so, for example, you're on a banking website and it'd say, what's your username, what's your password? And so you would enter whatever your username password is, but sometimes these fields are actually quite insecure and they're unsecured, sorry. And so if someone puts in a correct coding statement, it can actually just dive into his system anyway. And so he found, because again, this man is the analyzer, he found several financial institutes were like, these guys are completely undefended. Let's just put in whatever and we'll say we'll access someone's account. Their first name starts with A. We'll start with that person. And they just walk down the list. And so what they did, they took all these stolen credit card numbers, they would go onto underground markets, i.e. the dark web, and they would sell to third parties because that's how you basically get rid of credit card information on the dark web. And then that's used to carry out massive fraudulent transactions. The amount of money in terms of losses here was around $10 million. This is how much damage they were doing, just him and 2 other guys. So following his arrest, he gets extradited to the US because they're like, we're not letting you go this time. But he spends more a year in custody while waiting. And then in July 2012, Udi actually gets sentenced to time served, but he has to pay $500,000 in restitution. And he's then placed on 3 years of probation. Nowadays, we don't know really where he is. However, when I was researching this, it's always funny because I love when this works out, because whenever I'm researching a guy here, I look him up on LinkedIn. And 99% of the time, there's no LinkedIn. But sometimes they do have a LinkedIn profile. So Udi does have a LinkedIn profile. So Udi at the moment is a chief technical officer. He's in Dubai in the UAE, where there's a lot of money being a CTO. And his company is just listed as secret. So he does not want people knowing where he works. But I mean, Udi's, I would say, cybercrime career, it lies in this mastery to kind of scan, identify, exploit all these vulnerabilities quickly and very effectively. And his kind of success highlights the fact that people do not update their systems at all. And not even just like, people like me and you, these massive banking systems, they don't update anything. The US government wasn't updating military systems. So please patch your computers if you get prompted, please.
Well, I think part of the issue is that sometimes when you patch your computer, it screws it up because you've done other things to modify things. So, I mean, I understand why people have a reticence to do their updates, but, buyer beware. You just need to.
Yeah, and let me add, if you're on an Apple device, be that iOS or Mac, wait about 8 weeks before updating.
Exactly. Because
especially Apple devices.
Well, and I've got a Windows update.
That only gives Udi 8 weeks to access you.
That's right. I mean, because Apple throws stuff out there, and if you do it right away, you're going to have trouble. Windows is the same way. I got them begging me right now to do a blue update, which means, hey, you don't have to do this yet, but it's got a lot of really cool features. I'm like, heck no, I don't trust you. No way. Let some other million fools do that before I got to do it. So, no offense to Windows, but, seriously, why don't you just delete it all and start from scratch instead of just adding on? When Windows first came out, absolutely. It was 20 megabytes. Today, Windows is 50 gigabytes. I mean, just clean it up, people. Seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway. Brad, any final comments about how SaferNet could have saved the day from Udi? Because it seems like Udi got away with a lot of stuff, and he turned dark on us. He just wanted to prove things at the beginning, and then at the end, he took a lot of money.
Well, he did, and I think that's pretty typical with these hackers is that, they start out realizing, hey, I don't want to do anything wrong. I just want to prove I'm smarter than you, and then it just gradually morphs into greed. But I do think that it's a pretty big deal to be able to access these pretty high-end computers. From my perspective, that updating thing is massive. And for SaferNet, being able to update real time, you don't even have to do anything. You don't even know when we're updating it. And it doesn't affect your computer. It just affects what it is that we're protecting you for. And so 9 times we're on every endpoint device. So your laptops, your cell phones, your tablets, whatever it is, we're gonna be updating the cybersecurity within that, or the virus protection within that, on a regular basis. And so, in my mind, that is one of the greatest assets that we can bring to the table is automatic updates.
Patrick, I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed. I thought Ehud was going to really turn a new leaf, and then to see that he ends up, I mean, he's obviously he's probably making big money. Probably maybe he's working in that big tower in Dubai that's a half a mile tall. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's where he's at. Just remember, you heard it here on the Digital Desperados podcast. The internet and everything digital can have a dark side with many dark players. It's why you need SaferNet by your side. VPN, antivirus, web filters, so much more. Thanks to SaferNet for supporting our efforts to bring these stories to your ears and give them the exposure that they need. Please, for your own security and the security of those you love and those you work with, check out SaferNet.com and get secured today. Till the next time, update your software. Update your software, and click only on the attachments you trust and those you trust, and delete the rest, or you may become the next victim of a digital desperado.
This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at SaferNet.com.
We have an app for that? What? An app for cybersecurity for all your devices? Are you a business owner concerned about cybersecurity? SaferNet VPN offers the perfect solution. Protect your company and family with a single app. With our cloud-connected cybersecurity platform, enjoy VPN, internet controls, and virus protection. Stay safe online with SaferNet VPN today. Get secured now. Sign up at SaferNet.com. That's SaferNet.com.